Hi everyone. This is Anshu, and I will be demonstrating one of the problems where we are supposed to do push operation, pop operation, and arithmetic operations, specifically plus or minus, which is addition or subtraction on an expression. So I have listed some of the things that we will be doing in this example, and these are the operations that we will be carrying out. And let's start with it. So here we have a solution. We just have a function which takes in a string uh, as a reference. So let me get all the files included over here. Let's say we have vector and then string, and in this case, we will be using stack. So that's why I'm going to include stack as well. And let's include uh, string stream. So I'll say stream and uh, IO stream. Okay, so these are my includes, and we will include anything else as we need. Now in the solution, we will so the so we have a string which can be a which can comprise of integers and operations to be done. So here is an example of how it might look like. So let's say the string has one as the input, two as an input, and then it has operations such as plus, and then it can have an operation such as pop, or it can have something such as duplicate. In case if we have pop, we are supposed to get remove whatever there is there on the top of the stack. If it is duplicate, we will duplicate the value which is there on top of the stack. Okay, so in order to get the so since this is going to be a string, we will have to break it down into components and extract these numbers as well as the operations that need to be performed on it. So in order to do that, I will declare this sort of variable, which is, let's say, operations, and this will extract word, the extract words, okay, and we will pass our string to this extract words operation. So here I'm going to write my extract words operation, and essentially at this point what we need is a vector of strings, and we will call this as extract words, and to this you're passing a const std string by reference, and we call it as s, for example. And um, on this, in this extract words, we have to break down our input string. So in order to break it down, I will uh, let's say define a word, oh, cd string, and then call it a word. Okay, and I will need a vector to be returned. So in this case, I will define a vector of strings, and this is going to be our operations, for example. So I will call it as OPS, and we will need a string stream. So I will have a string stream, and I will call this as ISS, and I will initialize this with the input. Okay, and what we want to do at this stage is break down this string stream into its components. So we are going to stream these letters. So we will stream all these words into our vector. So I will extract this as a part of my word, and then once I have it in the word, I'm going to push it back in my operations. Actually, it's not just operations, but it has everything in it. So I'm going to change this name to words, let's say. And I'll push back the word on top of it like this. Okay. And then return the operations or the words. So this will complete our extract word section, and essentially we will have a broken down list of all our inputs, which will be now present as a part of a vector. Okay, so that's the first part. Now let's move on to the second section, which is uh, once we extract the words, we want to make sure that we uh, process each one of those now. So I'll have a try catch block, and in this try catch block, I want to catch all the exceptions. Okay, so reference key false exception. Okay, and we'll catch our exception, and we will throw an error, or maybe we can print out a message over here. So based on the requirements of the problem. So let's say when we catch this error, we will output an error like this, and we will say e dot what, and colon ender. Okay, so this will be std colon c error e dot what, and then okay, so this is going to be our try catch block, and this will catch any errors that happen during the processing of our input. Now, the next thing that we need to do is to loop through the operations that we have extracted. So let's have this for loop uh, where we will get a reference to the operations. Okay, and we'll loop through each and every operation over here. Now, there are different conditions as highlighted earlier. We have pop, we have duplicate, we have plus or minus. Okay, and one of the requirements of this problem is that uh, the the maximum integer should be of 20 bit, so it should not go above 2 raised to 20. So the integer value should, if it goes above 2 raised to 20, then it's a problem. It's an error condition, and we need to throw an error in that case. And if it is going to go below 0, then it's an error condition as well. Okay, so those are the two conditions. So here we will have, we'll define our constant integer 32 underscore t and call this as unsigned integer underscore max. Let's say 20 bit, because this is actually going to be a 20-bit uh, number, essentially not exactly a 20-bit number, but we are only going to have a max value of which will be of 20 bit. So 2 raised to 20 essentially. So this will be set to, let's say, 0 cross f f f f f, which is 20 bits. So f is for 4 bits essentially. So we have 5 f's over here, which is 5 times 4, that is 20 bits. And then we will have constant integer 32 underscore t. Let's call this as integer min 20, and this will be set to 0. Okay, so these are our two variables that will make sure that we don't go above or below the bounds. So this is our upper bound, and this is going to be our lower bound. Okay, now when we are going to be looping through the operations at this point, we might have either numbers, or we might have these operations like plus, pop, dup. Now, in order to get them out correctly, we are going to use transform. Okay, so I need to include algorithm header over here. Okay, and to this, I'm going to give op.begin. So let's say, our first value might be POP, for example, which might be in small case, and we want to transform this into an uppercase. Okay, so, and then this will be op.end, and I want the output to be at the same location as well, so I will give it as op.begin. Okay, and I will say colon colon to upper, which will give me an uppercase value in this location begin. So it will, whatever is present in this location, it will be added to the same location uh, with the uppercase. Now, the next step, once we transform this, is going to be, oh, like we can just say to upper, maybe like that. Okay, and the next step is going to be, once we run the transform, we will have different operations. Now I need to do comparison for the operation. So let's say the first comparison that I will do is with pop. Okay. Now, if my operation is equal to pop, what I want to do is check if we do have some value onto the stack. So I will say throw if empty, and I will pass the operation and the stack to it, right? And where is, did I define my stack? I didn't. So let me define my stack over here. And this is going to be a stack of integer underscore 32 int 32 underscore p. Okay, and this is my stack, so I'll call it like this, st. So I pass the operation and the stack. Okay, and here I'm going to have a void throw if empty, and it takes in a const std string reference to my operation, and then a const reference to my stack. So this will be a stack int 32 underscore p. I can even use auto over here, just being explicit at this point, but we can use auto as well. And stack integer 32 underscore t, and we will pass this by reference, and we will call this as st. Okay, and if stack, let's give it more explicit name, which can be a number stack. If this is a number stack, then we do x this, and this will also be a num stack, and I will change this answer to a number stack. Okay, now I'll check if the num stack is empty. If it is the case, then we don't have any pop operation to be performed, which means we'll throw an error through runtime. Let's say we'll throw a runtime error, which will be through runtime error, and this we can have the operation Did I actually make a mistake over here? Why is this runtime error is undefined? Okay, let me quickly see. Did I actually make a mistake over there? So throw run. Maybe I missed an input. So let me see runtime error. This is okay. I missed an std over there. That's why. All right. So we'll do std double colon runtime error, and here I will add my operation. So let's say op plus, so num stack is empty, so I will give an error num stack is empty and plus the operation. Okay, so that's the error that I'm going to throw, and we return from here. So this is in case if the stack is empty, and if it is not empty, in that case we will pop. Okay, so I'll say num stack dot pop. All right, so that is going to complete our first operation, which is pop. Let's say the second operation is to duplicate, so I will check operation equals to up, and if that is the case, then here as well, and so I made a mistake here. uh, so if the operation is duplicate, then we want to replicate the top number, and we want to push it onto the stack. So uh, if it is empty, then we again need to throw an error. Okay, so I'll check this. If it is empty, in that case, throw an error. Okay, otherwise what we do is we pop, we duplicate the stack, which means in num stack we want to get the top and duplicate. So I'll I'll call num stack dot push and num stack dot top. Okay, so we are taking the topmost value on the stack and pushing it onto our stack. All right, so this is the second condition, and we have handled it. And let's look at the third one. Else if operation is equal to, let's say, plus, or operation is equal to, let's say, minus. In this case, we want to perform operations on our stack again. So here I'm going to define underscore t, which will be my left and my right operation. So I'm going to extract the for the last two numbers on the stack and then perform the operation on top of those values. So let's say this is the first value, and I will call num stack dot top. Okay. Now, even at this point, it's important that we have at least two values in our stack. If we do not have two values on top of our stack, it is going to be a problem because you cannot perform plus or minus operations on it. So we will put a check over here if our number stack dot size is less than 2, then we'll throw an error, throw less values. Okay, so we'll pass it the operation and the num stack. All right, and I'm going to define this function as well. So I'm just going to use the same function over here, and if number stack dot empty, then we do this throw if empty, right? So in this case, throw if throw less values operation number stack. So in this case, I'm adding the check over here. If number stack dot size is less than 2, then throw less values. I can even add this check directly inside this so that we don't have to check it over here. Okay, so let's do that. Instead of checking it here, we can put it right over here. Throw error, the number stack is as less values. Okay, and we will add the size of number stack as well over here. If it is less than 2, then I want to capture the what is there on the stack right now. So it's obviously going to be either 0 or 1, but we want to check that. So number stack has less values plus OP plus num stack size, and we will put the size as num stack dot size. Okay, so that will be our error. It seems like it doesn't like this operation. Stack dot size. It maybe it doesn't like the concatenation at this point. Anyhow, we know that it is going to be 0 or 1, so I will just keep it simple at this point as we want to move through this quickly. Okay, so throw less values, and I will call this as throw less values, let's say on stack, less values on stack. Okay, so that's what we will throw, and if everything is good, in that case we get the top, and we will pop at this point because we don't need the topmost value at this point. So I'll call numstack dot pop, and let's say now I want to get the second value, so I will call numstack dot top again, and then call numstack dot pop. Okay, so now we have the first two values. Now, based on the condition, whether it is plus or minus, we will perform the operation. So let's say if the operation is plus, in that case, I want to add. So I will take a result over here, integer result is set to 0. Now I will say result is equal to, let's say, the first plus second. Okay, and now we want to push this result back onto the stack. Now before we do push this result onto the stack, we want to make sure that the size of this result doesn't exceed the 20-bit integer side, which is 2 raised to 20. So we don't want it to exceed this, or so I will check. In fact, I will check it afterwards. If operation is equal to plus, then we add this, else we perform the subtraction. So result is equal to first minus second. Okay. Now, in any case, if the result is going to overflow, then we want to throw an error that the result overflowed. So throw a runtime error at that point, just like we did over here. So if result is going to be greater than or equal to our unsigned integer underscore max 20. Okay. In that case, we want to throw a runtime error. So I'll call throw runtime std runtime error, and we will output our message, which will be, and let's say I will give the string plus so s is going to be the entire string, so that we can see the inputs clearly, and we will say result overflow. That's our error. Okay, and that's it. I think that should be good enough. So with the string, we give the result overflowed, then if result, or this can be also an else if condition. So let's write it like this. Else if result is less than 0, in that case we throw runtime error with s plus result underflow. Okay, so we have the result overflow and result underflow covered over here. All right, so that will be captured in our exception list. Now, if it is none of these operations, in that case, we will be pushing the numbers onto the stack. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to have another try catch block, and I will have the exception. Okay, and okay, I didn't write this correctly. Okay, so at this point, I want to convert, I want to try to convert the operation into an integer. So I'll say integer, uh, let's say I will define an integer result, integer extract equal to 0. Okay, and then extract is going to be assigned by ASCII string to integer. Let's say string to integer, and I'll pass it the operation. Okay, now at this point, if it fails and we don't have a valid number, then we throw an exception, right? And that's where we will catch the exception, and then we can give out an error. So we can say throw the underscore runtime and give out the string, and the exception will be invalid input, invalid input for invalid number, because we failed the conversion. Invalid number string to integer conversion failed. Okay, so that's our error. Otherwise, if it is a valid number, then we will take the stack and we will push the number onto our stack. Okay, so we have the extract, and we are going to push that onto the stack. Now, even before we do push it onto the stack, we want to make sure that going to be it's not going to be out of this range. So I'll just repeat this and I will say if extract is greater than or equal to unsigned integer max 20, or extract is less than 0, then we throw an error. Otherwise, we push the extract onto our stack, and this is what we get. Okay, so we have the number on our stack, and this is going to be the end of our for loop. Once the loop ends, we want to check if number stack dot empty, right? So at this point, the all the operations resulted in an empty stack. So we'll throw stud runtime error, and we'll say string plus resulted in an empty stack, as we have nothing to return at this point. Otherwise, we are going to return num stack. Whatever is there at the top, you'll return this value. Okay, and I seem to have try catch block error somewhere. Why do I have this expected a semicolon? Yep. So num stack.top, and if we get out of this, then we return -1 simply. Okay, so this is how the code is going to look like, and I think we have got it down. So let's have a driver function for this. So I will call it main, and let's have a basic. Uh, we'll have a string, cd string, and call it as s, and we will initialize this with let's say 1 2 plus pop duplicate. Okay, and we'll call auto, and we will be receiving a vector, not a vector actually. In this case, we'll be receiving a solution, so it will be mostly an integer. It's an integer essentially, so I will call auto and call it this as result equal to solution, and I'll pass this my string. Okay, and I will output the value. So result is, and we call this as result. Okay, and return 0, and that should be it. All right, so let's give it a run. Let's see if this works, or if we get some kind of problems. Okay, there are some build errors. So there was some weird error, and um, there was some conflict with another main function that I had written in some of the other practice sets, and that's why there was this issue. Now here, if a bunch of things were there, so now I'm gonna run this program. Essentially, I don't really make any change to this. I'll just fix the main function in the other one, and it says number stack is empty, and our operation was duplicate. So which means there is an issue. So here's the driver program where we have 1 2, and what I'm expecting is it gives me a 3 over here, and right now it is not giving me a 3, so it looks like we are not pushing the result onto the stack, and I think we are not pushing the result, so let's do that. Num stack dot push, and I'll push the result onto the stack. Okay, so that should fix it. And now if I run this, gives me the right output, which is result is 3. So it gives me the addition uh, of 1 and 2. So that works correctly. And now let's hit one of the error conditions. For example, if I just do this, it should hit one of the error conditions, and the number stack is empty and it has less values, right? So has less values. I can even change this error, because instead of saying has less values, I can even say the stack is empty as well. But anyhow, that's something that we can change at any point of time. So we are hitting this specific condition where less values on stack or the stack is empty. So that's why the error. And let's say if I pass 1, we should still hit the error condition because there is nothing to process. Okay, right? So that makes sense. So it has less values. So that's a demonstration of the entire problem and the solution. And I hope that helps. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye bye.